Welcome to the Morning Nerdy News. I'm your host, Gray Falcon. We've got lots of interesting news pieces today, mostly over in tech, including updates in regards to the PlayStation 5 Cooling, updates about Nvidia's graphics cards, and a couple other fun things about SpaceX here and there. Remember, if you are watching this for the first time, make sure you click the follow button if you're watching this on Twitch. If you're over on YouTube, click the subscribe button. And remember to follow me on Twitter as The Gray Falcon. We're going to start off with a little bit of promotion of my wife's site. So, Geeky Gifts, it's a place where you can get handmade gifts for Christmas. And she makes all kinds of wonderful things. You can see her Facebook listing down in the bottom right hand corner of my thing throughout the show, but it's facebook.com/geekygifts by Amber. And you can see all kinds of things that we have in here. So we have little plushies that she's made. She does hats, all kinds of clothing, and just blankets, anything that you can think of for all ages. Get little hats for babies, booties, gloves. But her hats are a big thing. So you can come in, take a look at all the different hats that she makes. The one I'm wearing right now, she made for me. So, and she does everything from like Jack Skellington to Ghost to things like Pikmin-esque. So this is probably her hottest seller right here. Kids absolutely love running around in those. Funny story, my kid, when he got his first one years ago, wanted it. And then when he would put on the hat, he would look at mom and go, "Okay, what do you want me to do? I'm your little helper now." So just great little fun stories that I can come up with the different hats and how they've loved wearing those over the years, and when they were younger, how they used to pretend to be what they were wearing with the hat. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get over into the news now. So we're going to start off with PlayStation 5 cooling performance is no different between vertical and horizontal installation. So over on Wccftech, they are covering the cooling, and people were concerned about whether or not the cooling was going to be affected when you laid it flat, because it's always shown in its vertical standing point, as if it's designed to help have the heat raise up and be blown out from that top. Well, according to their designers, there is no difference in the actual cooling performance, whether it's vertical or horizontal. Now, the original Japanese publication of this was for gamer. So you stick that wherever, on top of your gaming setup. If you stick it inside a cabinet, it's all going to work the same. We have news that the Nvidia GeForce RTX 3080 20GB and the GeForce RTX 3070 16GB graphics cards are canceled, according to an alleged rumor. So apparently, Nvidia is reaching out to its partners and saying, just cancel all your plans for these cards. Now, there are several speculations on this. One of them is that the cards are just so hard to produce, and they're so far behind on getting these out to customers, with sales being so great, and that they're not going to be caught up till next year, that they're just canceling these perhaps temporarily in order to get caught up on stock. Or it could be a permanent cancellation simply because of how well these are selling to begin with. It's possible that they have information on AMD's cards and they don't expect them to perform as well as their standard cards that are coming out. So with the lower memory, that they're not going to need that extra boost in order to compete. Could be that the memory just isn't as much of an advantage in gaming as it is for actual workloads. So they would rather you go out and purchase a 3090 rather than one of these cards in order to try and push those workloads. It's possible that it's simply the memory that is so expensive and hard to acquire because it's only being manufactured by one company right now. And so if they are only able to produce so much of it, and they already have limited supply, that could be an actual issue. However, there are claims that there is no issue with the memory. So we don't really know. That's one of those things that's being speculated on, but others are countering and saying no, we're not seeing any issue with actually getting this produced for these cards. And then they're pointing fingers and saying it's actually Samsung that's having the issue with producing the actual graphics chip and getting things out. It is interesting to see that we probably won't be getting these cards, at least not anytime soon. And then in other Nvidia news, the Nvidia GeForce RTX 3070 8GB graphics card benchmarks leak out an RTX 2080 Ti replacement for $499 US. And this information on Wccftech, where they cover the leak, and it was spotted by Rogue Game, who's done a lot of leaks and had a lot of correct information over the course of all of these new cards coming out. Card performs at about 1 to 2% better at 1080p than the 2080 Ti. So a great boost for most gamers, because most gamers game at 1080. However, if you go to 4K, because of the reduced memory down to 8 gigabytes, it's apparently a problem, and it's dropping 1 to 2% performance at 4K just by not having that extra memory there to handle all the extra information that needs to be processed through for 4K. It is losing some frame rate. So it's really a give and take on what you want with this. So it's entirely possible that if you are a 4K gamer, you could be better off trying to pick up a 2080 Ti in comparison to this if you don't care about, say, ray tracing as much, because the ray tracing isn't quite as good on the 2080 Ti, or the AI compute units perhaps aren't as big of a deal for you, and you think the 2080 Ti is going to hold up. So just keep an eye on that. And remember, next week we do have AMD's new cards coming out. So keep an eye on that. That price change right there could make all the difference for everything that's going on. We don't know whether or not they're going to be competitive with the 3080. We don't know if it's going to have a true competitor for the 3070, and we could see price adjustments happen here in the near future as well because of these announcements that are coming out next week. And then over on the Microsoft side, partnership with SpaceX on cloud computing business for space. Microsoft has teamed up with SpaceX, and they're doing a couple of things. One, they are helping with Azure to have simulations for satellite placement. So their actual paths through space are very complex, and they need a emulator that can help with that orbital placement so they don't end up crashing into each other and having other problems, especially as we get more and more items up in space. So this is one of those things that's designed to simulate and do all these complex calculations through their AI setup in order to help with that, as well as with cloud space and being able to set up servers in remote locations that have extremely hazardous places. So these could be mobile units that are placed in space or around the Earth in extremely hazardous locations in order to capture data that wouldn't normally be available. And then in final news, Quibi. Quibi confirms it's shutting down. This is also over on Engadget, and basically what's going on is the founder of Quibi admitted the idea may not have been strong enough. They sent out a letter after their call the other day where it was already presumed that the company was getting shut down, and they officially announced, yes, this is not working out, and all their shows in the pipeline are currently in limbo. So they're going to have to figure out whether they're going to get sold off to or be allowed to go find other places in order to actually produce their shows, how the financing is going to work for that, how much money is still going to be available to them. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered with this. And while I can admit Quibi does seem like a pretty dumb idea, and I'm surprised it got funding and got put out there, it's sad to see all of this happen, and I wish that, they had just made some better business decisions, just to become a competitor to Netflix and Hulu and Apple and all these other ones that are coming out, and just try and produce content and get it out there, because really this was just a poor idea from the beginning with trying to focus on vertical viewing. Well, that's going to be it for today. Once again, remember, if you're watching this on Twitch, click the follow button. If you're checking this out on YouTube, click the subscribe button. And follow me on Twitter as The Gray Falcon. Until next time, have a good one.